Traveling to Las Vegas in your 60s doesn't mean stressing over the chaos of airports, hotel check ins, or navigating the strip. It means using the right tech to make the trip smooth, stress free, and honestly, more fun. Let me tell you about the gadgets, apps, and tech hacks we used on our girls' trip that made all the difference. Hey, y'all, I'm Cheryl, your corporate country girl, counting down just 3 years to retirement. On my channel, I share everything from money challenges to rural living to travel tips. And listen, if you want more content like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss any updates. Last week, I spent 4 days in Vegas with my sister Anita and my friend Julie. Since she lives in Florida, we all met up at the Las Vegas airport. And from trip planning to execution, we utilized quite a few tech gadgets and apps. So here's a breakdown of what worked for us. At the airport and in the air, we started with airline apps. Check-in was quick, no paper boarding passes, and I used the app mid-flight to track our route across the country. That was pretty cool. And since the airline is now cashless, Venmo was used for in-flight purchases. And our airline had newer planes, and that actually had USB ports in the headrest. So you could easily charge smaller devices during your flight. I've never seen this, and I really think it's a great feature for airlines to offer. Phones, chargers, and other gadgets. We each had Apple AirTags tucked into our luggage and bags. These provided peace of mind for traveling across the country, especially with connecting flights and crowded baggage claims. But here's a tip. Don't check your AirTag midair. It'll still show your luggage sitting back at the departure airport and can cause a moment of panic. Just wait until you land. Portable chargers were a lifesaver. We used our phones all day for pictures, maps, tickets, and apps. Keeping a charger in the bag meant no downtime. And Julie used her smartwatch, keeping us updated with weather alerts and even breaking news while we were out and about. She even used her phone for an immediate query from the resort elevator on why the floor number skipped from 39 to 50. It turns out the number 4 is considered very unlucky in many East Asian cultures, particularly China, so many Vegas hotels skip these floors to cater to these guests. Who knew? Car rental and navigation. The car rental app let us skip all the paperwork at the counter. The only reason we had to stop by was to make the selection of which car we wanted to use. Once that was done, we walked straight to our car. No lines, no waitings. It was a huge time saver. And while we used Google Maps for walking directions on the strip, the real MVP was Waze. It got us where we needed to go, rerouted us around accidents, and even took us off the strip when traffic was crazy. And for dining and reservations, I loved how easy it was to use Apple Pay for meals and retail purchases where available. No fumbling with cards. We used OpenTable for off-property restaurant reservations. It made finding and booking meals quick and stress-free. And splitting the bills 3 ways helped us keep dining costs manageable. For our resort on-property restaurants, we could easily make and modify reservations prior to and during our stay. We had 3 of the most amazing meals on property that are all completely different from each other. We dined at La Cave, which specializes in shared plates, and this was perfect for us. We had breakfast at Jardin, which had the most amazing food, atmosphere, and service, plus a throwback for all of us 60 plus folks. We had grapefruit brulee, which was a far cry from those sliced grapefruit wedges covered in sugar we had for morning breakfast back in the 1970s. And finally, we dined at Sinatra, a fine dining Italian restaurant that may be one of my favorite experiences. The ambiance was incredible, the service was impeccable, and the food was to die for. But the icing on the cake here was that they brought out little miniature chairs that were identical to the ones we were sitting in for us to put our purses on so they wouldn't have to sit on the floor. That's not high tech, but it's highly memorable. Hotels and resorts. Our resort app handled mobile check-in and even texted me when my room was ready. We used key cards for security checkpoints, parking, and the room itself. Inside the room, the tech didn't stop. We had Alexa controlling lights, drapes, the TV, and music. We could say, "Alexa, open the drapes," and watch the view of the Sphere light up right outside our window. It was magical. Entertainment and tickets. Our tickets for The Wizard of Oz at the Sphere were digital, stored right in the phone wallet, along with our parking passes. No paper tickets to worry about losing. And the show itself, it's the most high-tech entertainment experience I've ever seen. It was just breathtaking. We also visited the Dart Museum. It was another high-tech wonder filled with immersive and interactive art. And at the end, there's an interactive cafe where even the tea reacts to the technology. I'll share some video here. It was simply unforgettable. Planning and coordination. For planning, Wanderlog kept our daily schedules organized, especially since we had dinner reservations and show events every night. We stayed connected with a group text chat to coordinate our arrivals and activities while we were there. We even set up location sharing, and though we didn't end up needing it, the funny side note here is that my nephew back in Alabama said he kept up with us the whole trip because of location sharing. Tech really does connect generations. From start to finish, tech made this girl's trip seamless. From Apple AirTags to airline apps, Waze, Wanderlog, and Alexa, it felt like we had a personal assistant with us the whole time. And honestly, that's what makes travel in your 60s so much smoother. Less stress and more time for fun. Upcoming in October, we're heading south to St. Petersburg, Florida, and you can bet there will be more tech travel tips coming your way soon. In the meantime, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my next video. 5 retirement myths everyone still believes and what's actually true. Think you know what retirement will be like? Think again. In this video, I'll break down 5 of the biggest retirement myths people still believe and what's actually true. From Social Security to Medicare to taxes, these myths can cost you big if you're not prepared. So don't let false assumptions ruin your retirement. This is your corporate country girl, and until next time, I'll see you soon.